Greetings of the day, everyone. Today I will be telling you what a central idea is and how to write a perfect central idea of a poem or a story. Central idea is a universal theme that the story or poem revolves around. Universal theme means it is something related to life, a message, or something like that. A universal message or some relevance to human or animal life, something related to this earth or anything. Okay, so there is one universal idea that the poem or story revolves around, some message that poet or author wants to send to the reader through that poem or story or any writer. It, it generally reflects the message the poet or author wants to convey through a piece of work. I've already told you that it reflects the message, the moral, the idea that he wants to convey. There is something, there would be a motive of writing a story or a poem. There is something that you want to deliver through any piece of work. It may be art also. Okay, if you are drawing or painting, there would be a central idea behind that because you want to convey a message. It is the unifying element, dominant impression of a piece of work tied together through fiction, imagery, metaphors. Now, what a writer would do? A writer uses fiction, imagery, metaphors to represent that dominant impression to the reader. He tries to connect to the reader, he wants to convey his idea, his message through metaphors, imagery, fiction, and it is all written through a story or a poem. How to write a central idea? Now, how can we write? Now that we understand what a central idea is, it is the main idea of something, a message, that a universal message that writer wants to convey to the reader. Now, how to write a central idea? Number one, try to find out the experiences, discoveries, emotions, struggles that the main character of the story or poem is going through. There would be something, there would always be something that the main character of the story or poem is going through. Okay, he would be feeling something, he would be experiencing something, he would be discovering something, he would be going through some challenge and he would be trying to overcome it. So there would be something going on with the main character of that story or poem. You have to find that out. Then try to find out the commentaries about how the word works and writer's interpretation of the same. What do you understand with this? Find out the commentaries about how the word works. Commentaries about, there would be some message in that piece of writing about how the word works or what is going on in the word, how the word works or what is going on in the word. And there would be a writer's interpretation of how the word works. He might find it interesting, he might find it somehow disinteresting, he might find some selfishness in the word. So there might be his own interpretation at that particular instant that he would be going through, and he expresses it through that piece of work, and what he wants to convey is the central idea. So what you do, you find out the commentaries about how the word works and writer's interpretation of that, the worldview. Based on that, deduce the message that writer wants to convey through his piece of work. Now you go through everything that the main character of that story of poem is going through. You see the worldview of the poet or author, okay, and then based on that worldview, you deduce, you take out, you make your own interpretation, you try to analyze what the poet or the author is trying to tell you, what message is he trying to convey to us, the readers. Now when you have found out what is the message that the poet or writer wants to convey, you write it down, but you make sure that your interpretation covers the most percentage of the story and or poem and is most easily supported. There should not be any complications. The message that writers or authors want to convey are very simple, so try not to complicate things. The simplest, you'll find the answers in the simplest of the places. Okay, the message would be simple, you just have to understand it. जितनी दूर से आप उसको देखेंगे, जितना करीब जाके देखेंगे, तो आपको सिंपल मैसेजेस जो होंगे वो क्लियर होते जाएंगे. क्लियर? Try not to deviate from the main idea of the story. Running here and there will create confusion. Now, when you are writing a central idea, please try to write it to the point. Do not try to deviate or get distracted from the main idea of the story. Do not write the things, from here and there, whatever that is coming to your mind. No, stick to the point. Be very precise. Clear? Keep the content organized and language accurate. Try using simple words. When your content is organized, there is a sequence in which a story is going on. Try not to break that sequence. Try not to bring unwanted things into the, unrequired things that are not required in the central idea into the central idea. Okay? Things that are not at all related to the context. Now, when you know how to write a central idea, let's see some examples. Yes, because for everything that you want to understand, you need an example. So now we will go through an example. Example: Central idea of Fire and Ice, a poem written by Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Now, what is this poem talking about? Before writing the central idea, let's understand what the poem is talking about. What the poem Fire and Ice is actually talking about. In this poem, the poet is talking about the end of the world. We totally understood that he is talking about the end of the world. He has discussed two main things that can lead to the end of the world, two prominent opinions about the end of the world, that are fire and ice. Okay, something that the world is going to end in fire and something the world is going to end in ice. Okay, poet has compared fire and ice to two dominant human emotions, desire and hatred. Now he has drawn a parallel between these two things that can lead to the end of the world, fire and ice. He has drawn parallel between them and human emotions such as desire and hatred. How has he drawn the parallels? He has compared desire with fire and he has compared ice with hatred. Okay, poet wants to tell how human emotions can lead to the destruction of the world, let alone themselves if not controlled. So now poet has told that if these emotions go unchecked, if we do not have a control over these emotions, what can they lead to? They can lead to the destruction of the world. Imagine someone becomes too angry, he can go on killing people and then wars start. You've seen it, right? You have read it in your history books how many people were killed due to anger and everything. So it can lead to the destruction of the world. Now, what would the central idea of fire and ice be? So I have written the central idea of fire and ice to explain to you, to make it easy for you to write the central idea from now on. Please try to write it again in your own words. Central idea of the poem Fire and Ice is that human emotions can lead to destruction if they are not kept under control. They have the tendency to destroy a person and even the world. Human emotions such as greed, hatred, anger can affect the sanity of a person, create conflicts, and can ultimately lead to destruction too. The poet thus advises the readers to keep these emotions in control or stay away from them. So that is the central idea of Fire and Ice. I hope this is going to help you write the central idea of the other poems. Try to write down the central idea of the poem Dust of Snow. Thank you.